So we'll start a mimer that was said in 1969, in the 25th of Adar. Shabbos Parshas Vayakel Pekudei and Parshas HaChodesh. The Shabbos before the month of Nisan, Shabbos Mevorchim, the month of Nisan. Chodesh Hazeh Lochem Rosh Chodashim Rishon Lochem Lechod Shashon. This month is the head of all the other months. Rishon Hulochem, that's the first month for the month of the year. So this is the new year. In the month of Nisan. This is the opening of the pasuk in Parshas HaChodesh, the fourth parsha from the four parshas of Shkolim, Zochor, Po, and HaChodesh. They are called that we read before the month of Nisan every year. Besides the reading of the week, which is Vayakel Pekudei. What is it speaking about? Parshas HaChodesh tells us about the commandment of bringing the Korban Pesach by every single Jew. It's mentioned in the continuation of this parsha. Shesei Tomim Zochum Ben Shana. It's to be a complete, perfect lamb, a year old. Min hakvosim min ezim tikochu, from the sheep or the goat you should take. Okay, so that's the reading. The reading about Korban Pesach. Parshas HaChodesh tells us you got 14 days, you have to be prepared. 14 days. We know that in Mitzrayim they had to tie the limb to their beds. Right? So they tied it on the 10th, and by the 14th they shechted it. They brought the Paschal offering. So the Rebbe Marash, which is the fourth Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbeinu Shmuel, he wrote a mimer in Tafresh Chaf Tes, which would be 100 years prior to 1969. Okay, so what is
1869?
1869. And that's the year that he said a mimer. What in a mimer, obviously speaking about this inyan, this concept. Korban Pesach is the only korban that comes from equally from the sheep or from the goat. There is no preference to sheep or goats. The Gemara has an interesting story about a king that asked. He has an argument with his wife. What is better, sheep or goats? And they bring the Kohen to answer, and the Kohen answers bluntly that sheep is much better because sheep are more common. Sheep are more common. He ended up getting in big trouble the way he responded to the king. But the point is, Korban Pesach, it does not have any preference to sheep or goat. Some offerings are coming from goats and not from sheep. And some offerings, and some of them coming specifically from sheep and not from goats. The Rambam wrote, so the Rambam in the laws of Maisa Korbanos, which Korbanos and how it's being done, he speaks, Rambam writes over there, if it's a Korbanos, for example, Chatos, sin offering, that coming to atone for the community, sin offering, communal sin offering, comes to atone for the community, it has to come from Mina'ez. Chatos Shutzibu Mina'ez, comes from the goat. Or Mina'boko, or from the cattle. Ve'en ba Mina'kvosim. The Rambam writes, you do not bring for a communal sin offering sheep. V'chol oilois hatzibu ba Mina'kvosim. Any communal burnt offering comes from the kvosim umina boker ve'enlam oilo minaz, and no burnt offering from the goat. Vice versa, what is for chatos is what is good for chatos is only goats and cattle, and what is good for ola is only sheep and cattle, but not goats.
We can bring this korban even if we are tameh, yeah?
That's a communal thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's different. There's a whole other subject about if the whole community is tameh. We learned that in certain cases they are allowed to bring a korban. But anyway, the point is a korban pesach we see that could be equally either sheep or goat. Okay, there's some korbanos. Are offerings. Obviously, quoting the Marash. Yesh korbanos shem beikor min hakvosim, that primarily are coming from the sheep. V'ainu rov korbanos ha'olah shem min hakvosim. Most of the burnt offering coming from the sheep. K'moishe kosu v'korban hatomid, like it says about the constant offering, shu roish l'chol korbanos, which was the leading korban in all the offerings, was a constant offering because it was brought every day, morning and afternoon.
Yeah, but which one was the god of the Egyptians? Was it the goat or the sheep?
The sheep. Yeah. Shu roish shaloch nikras oila tomid. That was the idea that we shechted their God.
Right.
It showed the self-sacrifice of Jews that are willing to shecht their God. So, yeshnam korban shvikon hakvosim. That's the commandment about the korban atomid, the constant offering. Comes to show us how it was the head of all the other korbanos, because it was done more frequent than all of them.
What is the meaning ben arbaim?
In afternoon, right before mincha, in the twilight zone.
Why it's ben arbaim? Why is it like this?
Are you saying why the description is being done such a way?
What is arbaim?
Back in the days, they didn't have a watch. They didn't say, okay, in the winter it's going to be 5:45. They didn't have exact time. So they would say right before sunset.
But arbaim is 40.
Oh, no, Arbaim is 40.
What is arbaim?
Arbaim is a twilight zone. It's a time of...
Is that where the Arvit from?
That's evening.
Oh.
Erev, from the word Erev.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. The Arbaim is written with Aleph Resh. This is Arbaim. Yeah.
They had sundials now, and
Right.
sand things.
But that was really the time. They look at the time of the Shema. They tell you Mishiaki, when you can recognize your friend from 4 Ames. You can recognize this color, that color. Remember, we're learning in Bochus. So it's the time. Today you have a time. When is this? When is that? Make it simple. So v'yesh lo es diuk. There are korbanos that primarily are coming from the goats, korban chatos, like the sin offering. Primarily, sin offering would come from goats. It says, the pasuk tells us that the goats were used for sin offering. When it comes to korban pesach, it says either sheep or goat. There is no preference whatsoever to sheep over goat or goat over sheep when it comes to korban pesach. It's whatever you like. There's another diuk, another question. Some offerings, the Torah describes the korban, or commanding us to bring a korban. The Torah says sheep or goats. Regarding the laws of korbanos, shoil, ox, or chesev, or sheep, or goat, ki yivole, that will be born. 7 days should stay with the mom, with the mother, and from the 8th day and on, it's already qualified to be used as a korban. Shaloshon oi, from the way the pasuk is written, it says shoil, ox. Oi means or sheep, or goat. It shows that the first one is preferable to the second one. Because why is it written ox, sheep, and goat?
Right.
So ox is preferable to the sheep, and sheep is preferable to a goat. Mashen kem Korban Pesach. Interestingly, in Korban Pesach it says mina kvosim or mina izim. They're not using the word o, aleph vav. They're using the word mem nun. Min, from the sheep, from the goats, from the sheep, from the mina kvosim, mina izim. What does it prove? Shemizeh muchach. And not only that, it says mina kvosim umina izim. It's connecting them together. It shows that they are equal. Shemizeh muchach shneim hem b'shov. They are both equal. V'gam shebechol korban pesach yesh bo mina kvosim umina izim. Every korban pesach has sheep and goats. The two types together.
Does it like an ox is like a female bull, right? So does it matter? No,
an ox is not an animal.
An ox is the male.
The cow.
So what's a
Usually
bull?
the ox.
Cow.
A bull is I think is another type of.
What's different?
Male.
Yeah.
And
So-
the cow is a female.
No, but ox is primarily a male. No, cow is a female.
No,
Ox
you
is a
have
male.
ox and you have a bull
Ox
and
and
a
bull
cow.
is the same.
But
No,
shoil,
ox is a different animal.
shoil is the translation of the word shoil is ox, right? But
But does it mention whether
But-
they need to
but
be
it's-
male or female or?
yeah, it does. The Torah tells in certain cases it needs to be male, in certain cases it needs to be female.
Right, but for here for Pesach.
Oh no,
The goats
Krosim
and the
or
sheep.
easy. The thing is, when you speak about a male goat, a male sheep, the Torah calls it a different name. It calls
Right.
it Ail.
Oh, yeah.
And when you speak about Keves, it's a female sheep. It's a female sheep.
So it's specifically referring to.
Right. When you say Ail, Ail is a ram, and then it's a male sheep. We'll see. So it says, it continues in the Maimer, so we first have to understand why, as we said before, the olav, the burnt offerings, were primarily from sheep. V'achatois, and the sin offering were primarily from goats. Okay? In general, the dominating korban for chatas was goat, and for ola was sheep.
What was the person? Hatat, like, was that the one that you also gave
Chatot
parts?
is a sin offering.
Right, but did both of them get burned completely on the altar, or did
No,
the one
no,
you
no.
give more
No,
to the
the
Kohen?
ola was primarily was
Completely burned, right?
Yeah, without the skin, but
But so you still
Yeah.
give the fur of the sheep to the Kohen, right? Like he still gets the.
right.
So there's an added benefit to it.
Yeah.
We learned in Pesach that if it was too long, the Pesach offering becomes an Ola offering, right?
No, there was shlomim. They
It
turned into
becomes a Shlamim
shlomim.
offering, right? Remember we learned that.
Yeah. Wow. Good memory.
Not really, but I have a garbage memory. But
The
this and that-
Gemara in Zvachim,
This
yeah.
time, I remember this and that, not the whole thing.
Not only you.
Huh?
So
We are in the same boat.
So it says. So we need to understand why why ola was primarily from kvasim, from sheep. V'achatois, and the sin offerings were primarily from goats. Okay? Shalpiza yuvan tam, and by understanding why oilers were goats, sheep, and chatas were goats, we can understand why, when it comes to Korban Pesach, it can work either or.
Okay.
What line are you on?
Uh,
3? Okay.
So yuvan atam shekorban Pesach ba min hakvosim anizim b'shovim tzorich le'akdim tchila shorish Yaakov. He says, you know what? We need to go even further backward to understand the whole inyan of korban. What is a korban? What's the inyan of a korban? The word korban means kiru, but we need to see what it means. Shelichora adovo pele. Seemingly, the definition of a korban is wondrous, is pele. something that is not easily understood. How can somebody be forgiven by sinning and then giving a sheep to the? What does the sheep have to do with his sin?
Yeah,
So
poor
it's
sheep.
a very
The
good
animal
point.
lovers say, "Why are you killing the
Yeah,
sheep for
yeah.
your
He has
sins?"
to pay for the animal, then to receive the money is difficult.
Right.
So then when you pay for the animal, it's hurting you.
Yeah, but
But
what
still,
did the
poor
animal
sheep,
do?
yeah.
Yeah,
Poor
what
sheep.
did, what
What
did
did
sheep?
animal do?
Why did sheep?
And what's the connection? Even let's say forget about the animal lovers for a
Yeah,
second. But
I don't care about them either.
what does the animal has to do with the sin?
Okay.
Right?
Right.
What's the connection? What does it do? If we need to add שהקושיה היא לא רק בנוגע לקורבן חטאס אלא גם בנוגע לקורבן אוהל. The question is not only about korban chatas; it's also about korban oila. What is korban oila? The avshe korban luin shador. And what is korban oila? What's the whole idea of burnt offering? Is to give a gift to the king. It says sin is to rectify my sins. The sin offering to rectify. I sever the connection here. I'm paying back. After I paid back, I want to bring you a gift to have the same relationship as I had before. Like the example, somebody stole from you $1,000. He gives you the $1,000,
That's a gift.
and he gives you a gift, and he said, "This is because of the aggravation that you have. I want to create the same relationship that we had before the sin. Before I hurt you, I want to have the same relationship to fix
Only
it."
with Hashem.
It's like people give flowers to their wives beside the new Bentley, right? So what's the flowers for? Is to recreate that emotion again, restore that
Doesn't
relationship.
work still.
Just in case the Bentley doesn't work.
Right. It has to come with something else, right?
Don't try.
Added value. So the question now is also on Korban Oila. So the question we had about Chatas, what does Chatas do? What's the connection between the Korban and the sin? It's the same thing about Ola. Because how is it a gift to Hashem? You're taking an animal, you burnt on Mizbeach. How is it even a gift to Hashem?
What was the first clothing that Adam and Hava had when they sinned? Was it made out of animal skins?
Leaves.
But
Interesting.
wasn't an animal
No,
killed for
it
their
says-
shame
it
to be
says-
covered?
It says they were first covered with. Midrash says they were covered with garments of light.
Right.
And then the garments of light turned into a garments of skin. So it's only different between Aleph and Ayin. Starts with kusnois oil, garments of light, and it changes to kusnois oil with an Ayin. Oil is skin, or is light. So it starts off with they had, like we spoke about Moshe Rabbeinu, it has the radiance of God. Adam and Chava had the radiance of God over them. Then it changed to garments of skin, but they also said they're all covered with nails.
But after this
all
sin,
over.
after the sin, they covered themselves with fig leaves, right? But then wasn't it also
That's what
with an
you're-
animal skin?
Yes.
Then they kill an animal, and basically they covered their shame because they felt that they were ashamed to
Right.
be naked. So in a sense, killing the animal covered their shame. So when we're shameful of committing the sin, in a sense,
Right.
bringing a korban, it's like covering that shame of the
Right.
connection we severed.
That would maybe work on your end, on your feeling. The question is, how does it really atone for what you did? Fine, I'm able to cover it up. Agree with you, fine. Let's say this covers it up. But how does it really atone we can't fake it, between us and Hashem, to truly atone for something that was done? How do I do it?
And in a sense, when
So
they were
if someone
ashamed,
is in a shameful situation, he runs away from it. So he's not in a shameful situation. But if there is some kind of deficiency, how do I correct it with bringing an animal? And same thing about the Ola. How do I fix it? By giving a gift to Hashem, this type of a gift that it's burnt on the Mizbeach.
Because if you're ashamed, you're not going to want to come and ask for forgiveness anyway, because you're so
You know,
ashamed. But
there's
if
a
you
certain-
covered the shame,
you know,
at least you can take that step now to
if
say,
you
"Hey,
ha-
I'm sorry." Like, at least the shame you take it enables you to take that step to come out and seek. Hashem
Usually
again.
it works the other way.
The other
People
way?
that are not shameful, then they don't ask for forgiveness. People that are feeling bad and they are shameful.
Yeah, but
It depends. I mean, it depends
Yeah, that's a
obviously
good point. That's a good point.
by the person himself. There's different people. There's some people who are becoming dysfunctional if they're shameful, but there's some people who that the motivation for doing something. It depends on the
if you
person.
do something to somebody that not cool, you have to wait. Just like in the last portion,
Wait for things to
you
calm
have
down.
to calm down before you can even start to have a dialogue about making up with them.
Right. Anyhow, it says Arei gam al yodoi through the korban ola nitvase b'shleimus odom. We know that it adds to the completion of man the burnt offering. So we need to know how and why. Kamvua beinyan. It's Chassidus explains odom ki akriv mikem. If the purpose of you bringing the korban is like David said, to be closer to Hashem. That's what it means. Odom ki yakriv, when someone bringing a korban, or he gets closer to Hashem. His intention by bringing the korban is, I want to get closer to Hashem. Seemingly it's not understood. How can a korban that comes from the animal bring about completion to a man? That's what we said about korban, the burnt offering. How does burnt offering, what does it has to do with my perfection? We are much higher than an animal. A human being are on a higher plateau than an animal. You have the doimim tzumeh high and the medaber on a higher level.
Can't we like act higher than an animal? But in a sense, we do have that animal. When we talk about having that goring ox inside of us, the goat, the sheep too. So we do have animal.
Yeah, but you have a potential of rising above it.
Right.
When it comes to the ox, he will always stay an ox. Right? It could be a good ox.
Right.
It could,
A goring ox.
but it could be will remain an ox.
Right.
So when it comes to a burnt offering, it says the question is not so heavy. It's not so great. The emphasis is primarily regarding korban chatas. Why? What is the purpose of sin offering? Is to atone for someone who made a blemish, who transgressed, and he blemished his soul. He deviated from the path of Torah. So there is a deficiency in his status, in his place. And if so, how is it possible that an animal offering would complete that deficiency? How this is going to rectify the spiritual status of a person?
Now we should stop to go daven, I think.
Or maybe we just get to Gimel, so we're easy to find where we are.
Okay.
It's just a few more lines. So Uleva is a makdim b'maimer. So Rabbi Menashe explains in a maimer, prefaces a maimer. Biur shirish u'mokim b'chas tzumech. He explains in general the root and the source of the vegetation, all the vegetative world. The rabbis have said, it's a statement in Bereshis Rabbah and other places, other sources, that you don't have a blade of grass that does not have a mazel as a spiritual source that above, that hits it and tells us to grow. Any kind of a private Esav party, or something that is specific grass, it has a source above, that gives it life. Chayus le'achyoiso le'atzmicho, it gives it life to grow it. Chanoidem Menashe kosu b'Zohar. It's written in the Zohar, al pasuk Matzmiach chotzir l'beim u'v'esel l'avodah sa'ado. It is a pasuk in Tilim, Kuf Daled, 104, that says that Hashem gives hay to an animal and grass for the men to work. The Zohar says that chotzir is one type of angels, hay is usually animal fodder, and the Esav is grass that men work with. It's two levels of angels. Chotzir is one type, and Esav is another type. Right? After he explains, the Zohar explains the two types of angels, the Chotzir and the Esav. Mamshich Levor, he continues to explain Shekmoishu Batzomeach. When it comes to the vegetative world, Chotzir and Esav belongs to the vegetative world. Hay or grass, all under the same umbrella of the vegetation. But still, each one has its mazel. Kmoichen, its spiritual source. Kmoichen hu gam b'valechaim. When it comes to animals, shegam be'ema yishlusho shumokir l'mayla. Even animal has a source above. By bringing the animal on the mizbeach, the root of the animal ascends back to its source, goes back to its source. Now, what is the source of the animal? Saying the source, it goes back to it. Source of the animal is tohu, right? Tohu. Shekodam letikun, but tohu preceded tikun. Tohu is before tikun. It says in Kabbalah and Chassidus that before the creation of the world, in Seder Ishtalshelus, the world of tikun, Hashem created a world of tohu. Meaning before the Seder Ishtalshelus, before tikun, Hashem created tohu. There was a tohu. And so Olam HaTikun is a place that everything is limited, measured, a receiving world. Tohu is a world where lights are shining very intensely, very potently, strong lights. And there's no comparison between the recipient and the givers.
They should be the Medaber, if they are higher source.
Right, but it says that the Shoresh, still the root of Adam is Tikkun, and the root of animals are Toyu. And now, since Toyu preceded Tikkun, Lochen al-Yedei HaKorbanos shenasis aliyah l'chinas HaToyu shekodam l'chinas HaTikkun nimshach misham l'malas kol pgam taken shachoyteh. Since Tohu, listen to that point, that's it. It says, since the Tohu is higher than Tikkun, and animals, their root are from Tohu. They were even created before us also. So what happens is when you uplift the animal back to its source, Tohu, and that world has a power to fix the things that you did, to fix the blemishes in the world of Ishtalshelus, in the measured world, because you're coming from a higher world. Coming from a higher source, you can correct the things that you did in this world. Because how can you go back in time and fix something that you did yesterday? Today is a new day. Today you have new things to accomplish. Only if you can come from a place that is not bound to the limitations. Someone that is outside of the game. They can come and change the rules, so to speak. So if you can tap into Tikkun, if you're elevating the animal back to its root, then you can affect your world, which is the world of Tikkun. So that's the beginning point of how we can answer this question. Bringing a korban, how is it atoning for? We'll continue, God willing, tonight. Same place, different time, right?